Unreal Engine has a great tool to make large worlds fast. In this video, I'm going to show you the basics of how to use this tool. From any Unreal Engine project, you're going to be able to have access to this dial in the top left corner. Going into the dropdown, we'll be able to select this modeling feature. Now the option that you care about here is going to be the cube grid. Everything else here does more traditional modeling, which I prefer to do in Blender. Now from here, before you click on cube grid, make sure you do not have anything selected in your viewport, because if you do, it will throw off what's about to happen just a little bit. So with nothing selected, click cube grid and you'll see a bunch of cubes appear. Now this is the tool. You're able to select an area and quickly grow or shrink different selections so that you can quickly build a level. So if we wanted to build a little level with a little couple jump pads, we could easily make and start building towards a staircase. So what am I pressing to make things happen? To make a selection, it's simple enough. You use the left mouse button to grow or shrink your selection, and when you let go of the mouse button, it locks in that selection. From there, you can press the E key to grow or to push your selection, or you can press Q to shrink your selection. This works even if we go back to what we established over here. I can select this row right here and then hit Q to shrink that to give this some more extra geometry here. So now with the bare bones out of the way, let's go and talk about these settings over here. First, we have the grid source actor. This only exists to set the parameters around where your cube grid is forming. So if I go into this grid source actor, it brings up everything that would be in your outliner. And if I change this to say the skylight, and then I hit reset grid from actor, you will see that everything changes to be based on where the skylight was. So now I would be building up here based off of the parameters that are set by using the skylight as the base. But I'll just undo that. And I'll quickly reset this to nothing. Besides using this as the origin point for our grid, this has no use. So let's talk about things that do have use. Something that you might find fun to mess around with is the grid frame orientation. This is the rotation of our grid. So if I go and change this value to 18 degrees or so, you can see that the entire grid is shifting. And this will allow us to grow geometry at different angles, which can be useful depending on what you're trying to accomplish. Grid power is the scale of your world. So if I change this upwards, you will see that my block size is getting bigger. So now if I was to grow this selection, you would see that it covers a lot more geometry than what we were covering when our grid power was only 5. Now the reason that the block size is growing is because of the current block size, and the current block size has a relationship with the grid power. So as we shrink back down, you can see that it grows at a different rate. And that is because in the advanced settings here, we have the power of 2 block sizes enabled. This means that as we increase grid power, our current block size is going to increase by a factor of 2. Which is why as we go to 6, it increases to 200 and 400 as we hit 7. But regardless, if you wanted to create a big selection at first, let's say we wanted to just create this square, we could then fly up to the top of this square and change our grid power back down to 5 and create finer details inside of this big selection that we had started with. The next thing I want to talk about is corner mode, which is hotkeyed to Z. If I select this push that I did up here and hit Z, you will see that things change and now I have access to all 4 corners. If I select 2 corners and then hit E to push, you will see that it only pushes out the corners, allowing me to quickly make ramps. If I want this ramp to be more severe, I can keep pushing it. But if I want it to be less severe, I can leave it as just a basic ramp. Now what's important here is each time that you've set a proper corner, you want to make sure you hit Z again in order to end the corner mode. Because if I select a 3rd corner right now, it's going to create a 3-way or this weird 3rd angle with these 3 corners selected. But don't worry, you can always unselect that last corner to get a more traditional looking ramp and hit Z to finalize that selection. So this allows us to quickly go and build different things that we'd want to have access to. So I can corner mode here, select these 2 corners to connect this as another ramp. So once you're done with your monstrosity, you can hit accept and then it becomes its own object inside the scene. And we can see that over here in the outliner, we now have cube grid tool output. And that is a representation of everything that you just built. Now, if you want to edit something that you've already built inside of the cube grid, you have to make sure you have it selected before you go and click on cube grid again. Otherwise, you won't be able to edit the object that you're trying to edit. But if I go back into cube grid, we're able to go and make further edits if we were so inclined. Another tool that is super handy and can save you a lot of time is the blocks per step. This dictates how many blocks spawn each time you press either E or Q. If we change this to 100 for dramatic effect, and I select this edge right here, and I hit E, you can see we quickly create 100 cubes. And then if I hit Q, it removes everything that I just created, which can be very, very handy if you're quickly trying to spring up a massive structure. So now it's at this point that I'm going to draw your attention to everything on the side here where we have all of these different areas that we could mess with. I will say that messing with all of these is something that I have not fully experimented with yet, and you're welcome to do so. However, my use case for this is to quickly spring up prototype-like environments, so I don't know if I'll necessarily be doing large-scale deforming or transforming. What I do like to do, however, is go into Attributes and select Edit Materials. You will notice that my structure is a nice pink color, whereas yours is probably similar to the template color that we have in the background. I'll show you why that takes place now. First, why was I spawning pink bricks? Well, if we go back to Create, and you scroll all the way through here, you will eventually find the materials section where you'll be able to set the material, and I set mine to a nice pink color because I find it pops better for tutorials. But let's say you don't want to just have one color, or maybe you've set your entire object and you want to change colors after the fact. That is doable, and it is a little hidden. Go into Attributes and click on this Edit Materials pane. This will bring up a bunch of color-specific things that we're going to be able to change. First, you will notice you now have a big circle to select stuff with. The size of this selector tool is directly tied to the size of the brush. So if I want to be less selective, I can lower that down, and my circle to select stuff also goes down. Let's focus on this small piece over here. You will see that this is a little different than the cubes that we were growing before. Each face seems to be divided into different polygons, and that's by effect. Everything is broken into triangles to make things easier to color. So I've selected this top face by holding down my left mouse button based off of the brush size that we have set previously. Now, if I want to change my material, we can see here we have this materials section right here. If I go into the active material dropdown, you will see we only have one active material. That makes sense. That is a representation of the color that is currently on the object. If I want to change the color, we're going to need to add a new material. So let's hit Add Element, and that's going to allow this materials array to grow. Let's choose a different color, and let's say I want this to be, let's go with just this basic advanced flag color. So now with this selection still active, I'm going to change the active material from 0, or the pink color, to 1 for the advanced flag color. Now you aren't done yet. You now need to go down to Assign Active Material, and that is what is going to assign that actual material to your selection. And perhaps choosing a flag wasn't necessarily the best choice for me here, but let's reselect that, add a different material, and make sure it's something that actually is a color that I can recognize. And let's try and do this blue. So we'll repeat that process again. We'll change it to the blue, and we'll hit Assign Active Material, and now we have a nice blue color on top. And once you're good with everything that you've done, you can hit Accept, and that commits all of your results, and now you've built a little bit of a prototype. And that is the current workflow that I have been using to quickly spring up different prototypes to test different things and different mechanics that I'm building inside of Unreal Engine. As I continue perfecting my workflow and taking this to the next level, I'll make sure to make more videos so that you can learn what I have learned without all the pain. So get out there, give it a try, and subscribe if you want more Unreal Engine 5 tutorials.